if I'm constantly in this state of improvement or trying to change, how can I be still enough to see what's good right now? Welcome, my beautiful friends. We are currently in the first few weeks of 2025. And it really got me thinking a lot about the concept of new year, new me. There's been so much content I've been seeing recently about big goals, resolutions, new you, better year. And to be quite honest, I feel like this year I've done a complete 180, and I've decided that instead of new year, new me, I'm gonna go for new year, same me energy. I'm Jasmine. I'm a visual artist, and I talk all things creativity and just life in general. So, 2025. Instead of setting big goals this year, I'm seeing it as a chance to embrace myself, flaws and all, without needing to become a quote-unquote better version of myself. And I wanted to share a couple of things about this new mindset and why it feels right for me and my art. And if you're one of those people who struggles with setting goals, or who's like me and is completely tired of the narrative of self-improvement in the new year, perhaps this will be something that helps you with being a little bit kinder to yourself in 2025. So grab yourself a tea. I've got mine here, or whatever beverage you prefer, and let's dive in. Where do we begin? Last year, I set a lot of big goals, things I wanted to achieve in my art, and on a more personal level, how I wanted to grow and who I wanted to become and who I envisioned myself becoming. I'm a bit of a dreamer, so I find myself always wanting to dream big and follow this idea that, if you focus and you write down these big goals, your life will just get bigger and better every single year. I think there is a lot of good that comes out of writing that stuff down and being very focused and getting a lot out of envisioning and dreaming about who you want to become. But on the flip side of that is that it comes with, for me personally, a lot of expectations on myself and what I'm capable of and what I can achieve in 12 months. Now, sometimes I surprise myself and it goes great and things are working out. But a lot of the times, what I envision for the year doesn't always end up being what happens in those 12 months. And one thing I've noticed about myself is that when it comes to the end of the year, I look at all of the things that I've written down or the goals that I've ticked off, and I still feel a tiny bit of disappointment. And I'm quite critical of myself, actually, that I haven't really reached what I've envisioned in my mind, what I thought I wanted for the year. Now, that doesn't mean it was a shitty year or that it was a terrible year. It just makes me hyper-focused on the things that I'm not doing enough of, or that I'm not achieving what I think society wants me to achieve. And I feel like I'm chasing validation instead of meaning, and it doesn't feel like it's coming from a place of authenticity. And maybe for most people, it doesn't bother them as much, or maybe they can look at the year with a little more kindness to themselves. But I think as someone who really values personal development and growth, I look at myself with this lens of criticism on how I could be better for the next year. And it served me well a lot, but I'm finding it to be a bit of a weight on my shoulders. The weight of that pressure to be the best or achieve the most. Now, don't get me wrong. I love that about myself, that I push myself outside of my comfort zone and that I'm always looking to improve. I love that about me at times. But I think as a society, we've put a lot of emphasis on the next, the best, the biggest, the greatest. And it just feels sometimes a bit overwhelming that who you are and what you're doing isn't enough in this moment. To be quite frank, I've kind of struggled with that idea of feeling like being enough, as I'm sure quite a lot of people have. But I'm at a stage in my life where I'm finally allowing myself to embrace and have space for those feelings of not feeling enough, so that I can just be aware of it. It's actually okay that I feel this discomfort of not feeling enough. I have to investigate that more. Like, why? Why do you think you're not enough? And at this stage in my life, I'm allowing that space. I think there's something to be said about being okay with who you are in this current moment and being enough right now, and not actively seeking out things to improve. As an artist, I feel like there's been a disconnect between the type of art that I'm creating and the person that I'm trying to always chase in that improvement and that perfection. There's beauty in imperfection. There's beauty in things being as they are and not needing to make it better. And I've realized that my best work actually comes from being honest with myself and with how I engage with the world around me. And so if I'm constantly in this state of improvement or trying to change, how can I be still enough to see what's good right now? How can I be still enough to absorb and take in inspiration that really connects to the authentic version of me? So yeah, to be honest, I feel like the pieces actually that I love the most are very raw and real. And they reflect who I am in that moment. So when I'm running away from the moment and chasing something or a version of myself that needs to be better, I'm not actually able to appreciate the realness and the rawness of the present. And that does affect how I make art. So yeah, something to think about. I'm currently in the middle of doing some dyeing and the timer went off, so I'll be right back. Alright, we're back. Speaking of art, where was I? Yes, so making art that reflects the moment, that's more authentic to myself, is really what's important to me, because I think that big shift for me was that I don't necessarily need to seek to improve myself, but rather, what if I looked at 2025 as a year of being enough as I am right now? Now, that doesn't mean that I'm not gonna grow or that life isn't gonna throw lessons at me and I'm just gonna completely ignore them. Life's gonna life, and things are constantly gonna be changing. But with that being said, I can still be nicer to myself. I can look at myself with a kinder lens, with less critique and more love and more compassion for just being me and making mistakes or not always getting it right all the time. So what does that look like for 2025 for me? Personally, there are times where I do doubt my style, my artistic voice, and the choices I make. But this year I'm choosing to believe, instead of critiquing, that what I'm doing is enough and that what I'm creating is enough and that I'm on the right path and I don't necessarily need to dissect everything to make it better. In fact, I used to struggle a lot with being really vulnerable in my art. For instance, I've hesitated to show pieces that really feel too personal and like they might reveal too much about my imperfections and the things that I don't want necessarily people to perceive of me that maybe aren't, I don't know, they aren't things that I have learned to appreciate about myself just yet. And what I'm actually learning is that when I make art that is more personal, it's something that resonates more with people. And I have to remember that the reason why I became an artist is because I enjoy storytelling and I love sharing and connecting with other people. Being vulnerable isn't about oversharing, but it's about being brave enough to share who I really am. So I want to focus this year on asking myself, what parts do I want to celebrate about myself rather than change? Like shifting my perspective away from the things that need improvement and focusing more on the things that make me really unique and that deserve to be celebrated. So, what does this mean for you? Hopefully, it maybe is a way to encourage you to ask yourself the same question. Instead of focusing so much on the things that need to change or to be better, why not make it about a year celebrating and appreciating who you are and how far you've come up to this point? Yes, it's going to be challenging. I can tell you firsthand. We're only 2 weeks in and I'm already a little bit challenged by this. We've been trained for so long to think about ourselves or to look at ourselves from a very critical perspective, 100 people can say so many incredible things about you and one person says a negative thing and that's where your attention goes. And I feel like that's just something that takes a while to unlearn, but it doesn't mean that you can't make the effort and try. Perhaps it is setting an intention that aligns with the person who you already are instead of who you think you want to be in the next 12 months. Like deepening a passion or exploring a part of yourself that maybe you're ignoring and giving yourself the time and energy to explore it. For me this year, that means storytelling, which is why I've really been focusing on creating these lovely YouTube videos for you lovely people and putting myself out there, sharing myself physically through these videos and putting it out into the ethers of the internet world to share more about me and my art as I am in this moment now. And I want to let people in. But that's scary sometimes because people get to see who you really are, and sometimes who you really are isn't perfect. But that's the beauty that I want to embrace this year. So with that being said, I think we can end on a good note right there. So for this year, 2025, I hope you also take a pause, take a step back from writing the big goals, from trying to achieve these incredible, sometimes a little bit outrageous things, and look at yourself from a lens of celebration to move throughout the next 12 months. And maybe turn down the dial on the criticism of yourself and look at the amazing things and the amazing person that you are right now in this very moment, day to day, without needing to feel like you need to be someone new. Because you are enough as you are. And I hope you join me by embracing the same me energy. So let's make it a year of being unapologetically ourselves. I'm curious, tell me in the comments, what's one thing you'd like to celebrate about yourself for this year? If you made it this far, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate you. As I said before, I'm making it a goal to share more about my story, my art on this channel, and Hopefully that's weekly, but we're all human, so I will be posting videos that share a little bit about me, my art, the process, what it's like living abroad as an artist, and life in between. And having a couple more little chitty chats like this. If that sounds like your vibe, I would love for you to subscribe and be a part of my little family. If you enjoyed this video, please, I would love it so much if you could hit the like button. It really does help me a lot, and it also helps other people like you who are interested in this find my videos. Here's to 2025 and being ourselves. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon.